Hello and welcome to the first Sunderland review show of the season. A delayed one as well because I've been at Wembley and we've been catching up on the Love Island final. Judge all you want. There was a tinge of disappointment due to Coventry's late equaliser, but Sunderland's return to the Championship was largely positive as we drew 1-1 on an opening to the season with the Sky Blues at the Stadium of Light. And as always, just like last year, we're going to be reviewing all of the action. All of it, like I say today, a little bit late, but nonetheless is going to be full of good discussion. To join me is just one member, so just me and another today. We're short-staffed, shall we say, so he's going to have to be the first introduction today. I've got no choice. Brad, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. I think like Sunderland, we might need to get some more new recruits in, so we're strong for the season ahead, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I thought
Getting let down on the first night. But yeah, good, mate. Delighted to be back at the football. And yeah, we'll get into the game and see what we thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I unfortunately missed the game. I was at Wembley. I think loads of people saw that great day with the Lionesses seeing England win a major tournament with a host of ex-Sunderland players in there. So I was obviously buzzing with that, but I did catch the full 90 minutes on Sky. And as I said in the intro, I think to me, a largely positive start of the campaign. I think in a way, normally if you concede in like the 84th minute, you kind of go, oh, bugger.
Oh, bugger.
And you've got all these kind of reasons why you think you've conceded and you go home a bit sick. But I felt like, I always say Twitter's not a good barometer, but obviously that was the only real aspect I had and obviously used on the WhatsApp group. But it felt to me largely positive. The late equaliser from them was a bit gutting because it would have been nice to get the 3 points, but I just thought we looked decent. I thought we looked all right, and it wasn't as scary as it was in pre-season. But what did you make of it, Brad?
Yeah, it was good. In their equaliser, it's something like we're going to come to expect in the Championship. It's a moment of class, something we haven't really experienced over the last few years. I think late equalisers have been something where we've fucked it up or it's been a scrappy equaliser. But yeah, I think for large parts of the second half, you could probably see it coming. I thought we started to be a bit sloppy, sitting a bit deep, to be honest, at times. But like we said, it's another game unbeaten, and in competitive football, we haven't lost since, is it February, March now? So yeah, it's something we can build on. Coventry are no mugs; they've got good players in there. As I said, their goal's a very good goal. Sometimes you say you don't mind conceding ones like that, you do, but in the scheme of things, you sort of think a draw probably is fair as well. And it was reflected in the fans at the end as well. Another thing which we can only gauge off the last few seasons, if there's been a late equaliser, there's been a few moans and groans and boos. As soon as the final whistle went, mate, the whole stadium stood up, applauded the players off the pitch. And I think that's largely positive, and that the players will feed on that atmosphere, not only the build up of the game, but what they got out at the end of it when the fans are still on their side. And they were, yeah, I was happy with it, to be honest. I said I would have taken a point. And it is a point, it's something to build on.
Yeah, I was the same. I think obviously in the preview show, I said my heart says 1-0, my head says 1-1. I don't know if that's technically a prediction that got correct or not, but I was obviously disappointed to concede that goal. But like I'm speaking now on the late on Monday night, so obviously I've had more than 24 hours to digest it. But even at the time, it was like they scored, and it was like, But I think, like, you know, I only unfortunately had to watch the match on the TV. I unfortunately couldn't get down to London in time and stuff like that. But watching the atmosphere and the way we played, kind of at the end of it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, like that wasn't too bad. I would have probably took that beforehand. And considering how late they scored and how good the goal was, I thought I would have been a bit more gutted in the way that it happened. But I wasn't. I was really impressed by the way we looked up front. I thought Pritchard, I thought Jack Clark looked really, really good. But Brad, what was sort of the aspects of play that pleased you the most? For me, it was definitely that front four that looked Championship level, which is hugely positive.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about that on the post-season review about the front four. Jack Clark, I thought he was brilliant. Without being absolutely outstanding, that was the type of player that we seen towards the end of the season once he got himself fit and sharp. Now he's had pretty much a full season, pre-season with us as well. It's not like he's need to bed in as a new player, so it shows that they've got that bit of the recruitment right by bringing someone in that they know they can trust. I thought Gucci down the other side, to get that ball in, we know that's what he's capable of. He didn't look out of place in the Championship. Ross Stewart, albeit he didn't score, their keeper pulled off quite a good save actually from Roscoe. He ran the channel as well. He done all the hard work, and that was sure. He got in the EFL team of the weekend without scoring a goal. Shows that the stuff that he does do that we've seen time and time again without him scoring is going noticed. So I mean, Pritchard, yeah, he gets the ball down well. So I think first half was really, really positive. But like I say, that's why I think we need a few more recruits. It was starting to get a bit leggy second half, and the lads we had to bring on, O'Nien was untested at this level. We've got Sims who only just came in a day or two before. So do you throw him on and go for the win, or do you just think we're happy with the draw if they do score? So yeah, we just started getting a bit sloppy as well. I think there was a time Patterson gave it to Bart and Bart gave it to Dan Neil and he lost it. And somehow they've missed. Other days you do get punished with them. I think if they'd scored that one and that was the equalising goal, that would have been more of a moan and a groan. But like I say, I don't want to be negative with a draw on the opening game of the season. I think the fans themselves as well, live on Sky, we've given a really good account of ourselves. The players have given a good account of themselves, and players who are now on the fringes of their teams and someone go and approach them might look at it now and think, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Actually, there's something that I can go in there and I can improve on. So all in all, yeah, positive for me on the pitch, off the pitch. Everything just seemed great, apart from the 84th minute goal. But yeah, let's just forget that happened, really, because it's a point there.
Yeah, take it on the chin. And I think with totally agree with you on the atmosphere. It looked great on the TV. It looked excellent. Like it really, I'm there every other week. Just lo and behold, it would lie the same day as a Wembley final. That obviously I think people know I wanted to go to, and there was a hint of jealousy from me. I was like, oh shit, that looks amazing. And you know, when you're from the place and you're used to being in the place, you feel like you should be home with your people, and I wasn't, which is unfortunate. But it did look amazing, and if you know, I wanted to be part of it when I'm currently drinking free drinks in the pub that are getting bought for me in London. Then it shows you how good it did look, and hopefully players feel the same sort of way. But I think yeah, very few negatives that can kind of come from that. I really felt like a lot of our play and a lot of our players looked championship standard. And I don't want to judge everyone on one game, because there'll be players in there that by the end of the season will go, oh, actually, that was a good first game, but not much rest. There'll be players in there that we gone, don't look too great, and end up having a great season. We've seen it loads before. But I think what was best about it was we showed what Sunderland was all about in terms of a fan base. I think we showed what our team was all about. But I think the interviews from Pritchard and Alex Neil afterwards as well were really quite grounding. Like Pritch saying, you know, we've been in this division before. Sunderland have been a Premier League team for how many years? Who knows? But we've been in League One for 4 years, and Coventry have been a team that have known each other a while and they've played together for a while. And he's like, we've matched them, and yeah, bit of a gutter because a great strike at the end, and there's things that we'll learn from it, and the whole stick by us, which of course we will, and we'll give our all. I thought both interviews were great, because it could have quite easily been, oh, I wish we'd hung on and done this. It could have quite easily been like that, but I felt across the board, the players, the management, and the fans in large all had the same opinion on the game. And I think what's good about that is unity. There was a couple of surprises, mind, in the starting lineup. I can probably understand why one of them, but Danny Bart preferred to Bailey Wright. Were you surprised by that, or do you think that's half expected because of the fact that he played an extra sort of 6 weeks, didn't he, Bailey Wright?
Yeah, I think that's something to do with it. But also, I also do believe because Bart was playing Championship 6 months ago, I think that's it by and large. He's played against Coventry recently. They know they have got a few big lads in there. He's even more complimentary to, like, he compliments Ballard more than Bailey Wright would. They're both big, strapping lads, really. Bailey Wright's more of he's a bit smaller, isn't he? But I think it's what we need on that game. Was we knew that Coventry would come at us at some point, and we'd need the battering rams really there. So it was probably a big call. I mean, the other big call for me was leaving Patrick Roberts out. I was a bit shocked when he wasn't named in the team and Embleton was. But again, Embleton done well. And he was in the two lads that started, that a lot of people were and ahhing about was Embleton and Dan Neil. But they were the two I said I think could do something for us this season. In large parts as well. Them two didn't look out of place. Yeah, I think Dan Neil, as the game got on, was maybe a little bit leggy and maybe he's got found out a little bit, or he was flat on his caught on his heels. But again, it's his first season. He's only a kid. So I want him to get on his back. The only thing I can say negative about yesterday is this fucking standard of refereeing doesn't improve no matter what league you're in. Because that bloke was more concerned on his 70-year-old slick hair with his headband. It was he was atrocious. But look, we got biased, didn't get beat. So yeah.
I agree with you what you're saying about Embleton. I was quite surprised because I really like Patrick Roberts. I think a lot of us do. He's turned into a fan favourite and a bit of a cult hero because of what he did at Sheffield. But he is a very good player with a lot of talent. But I think sometimes as fans we underrate Embo. Sometimes I think we forget the talent we've got in Embo, and he was really good. And I think you kind of forget the pedigree Danny Bart's got. Because he had that kind of shaky start where he scored a quality diving header, but in the wrong net. Bolton, he played a really big part towards the end of that season. With Dan Neil, I think the season's going to do him the world of good. I think the best thing about Dan Neil was that he wanted the ball still. He maybe shouldn't have wanted it when he was like in front of his own goal, but he learned from that. I think when you watch Dan Neil, he's just a lovely footballer to watch. I would like to think, and some people might disagree, but I'd like to think Sunderland as a fan base at large know a good footballer when they see one. And I think most people, even Daniel's biggest detractors, go, yeah, he's got something. And he's going to make mistakes. Like you say, he's a kid. In terms of football and experience, he's a kid. He's going to learn, but the talent's there and you can work with that.
Well, with the full season under Alex Neil now, I know Alex came in halfway through last season. We all said Dan Neil was burnt out. I think now with Dan Neil, he's got him from pre-season and he can manage how he plays this season. He might put him in for a couple, take him out for one, put him in for 3 or 4, bring him out for a couple. That's going to aid his development rather than burning him out. So I think he's got a manager there that now I think Dan Neil knows he can trust. He might have had his head down a bit by not coming on at Wembley or playing a massive part towards the back end of last season. But what he does have to remember is how highly we all thought of him at the start. Now, if he can be managed correctly throughout that season by Alex Neil, I think there's not many managers that I would at this moment in time trust with how bad we've been ran lately. If he can manage Dan Neil, we've got a gem there, and he might take him out next week because Bristol City is a completely different game. But he might leave him in just for one game experience and then pull him out, or play him in the cup game and then pull him out. He's going to be managed right, and that's going to be massive for us as the season goes on as well.
Such a big thing, I think, having a manager that we all trust to make the right decision. There's sometimes at first I was like, not Bart over Bailey Wright, and I was not playing back with Roberts. But ultimately, we got a positive result. I think probably because Coventry were with us in League One not that long ago, you probably don't value how well they've done since they've got up. I think in terms of centre forwards and strikers, Gyökeres and Godin are probably up there with at least top 8, top 10 strikers in the Championship. And I think Gyökeres obviously was a massive handful. I think he was at Brighton previously and scored bags for them in like the Premier League 2. Obviously, you can see with his finish, he's got something about him. But I think wide and large, it did take a really good strike and a really good finish and just a bit of like magic really to get them back into it. Not to say that they didn't deserve the draw. I think they did. I think it was a fair result. However, we did limit them quite a bit. The one time they went really close, and talking of talented players, you've been a big advocate of them for a long time. I was very uncertain from for ages. Now I'm definitely not. I thought that save from Patterson was outstanding. And I think game on game, he just grows in stature. And I've gone from being, well, he might be an all right League One goalkeeper. I'd maybe stick him out on loan and give him a bit more time at Notts County, to me being like, he's number one and I massively rate him. And I think he's only going to get better. I thought he came out and collected crosses again. He was strong. He was brave. He just keeps getting better, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think that was a lot. What everyone was a bit worried about, how he would make that little step up. But like you said, that save, at the time, I didn't know he tipped it on the bar. And it was only when my granddad phones me at half time every game. And he said, Patterson got a tip finger on that. And I was like, bloody hell. And I watched it back. What a stop that was. But again, like you just touched on, we limited them to very little. And the two big chances they had were both outside the box. Because by and large, we limited them to next to nothing. And anything that did come in the box, it was either mopped up by the centre-halves or Patterson just came and claimed it. So, yeah, I've been a big fan of Patterson since he came back into the side. And he's not out of place in this league at all. I know a few people are not sold on the backup keeper replacement.
No, me neither.
But what we have to remember is Alex Neil's got a lot of faith in Patterson. He sees him day in, day out. He knows he's going to be his number one. Now, if we don't need to rely upon Patterson pulls off saves like that and is commanding as that throughout the season, he doesn't need to come out the team. Yes, we might see Bass against Chef Wed, see what he's about then. But Patterson's our number one, and he ain't going to lose that shirt. He might have a couple of mistakes in him in this level. We know that. Outfield, the lads are going to have mistakes. And like I touched on, Dan Neil not being aware of his surroundings, we almost got punished. Patterson's going to have one of them Larry moments as well, which more often than not, if it's a goalkeeper, it's going to lead to a goal. The fans didn't get on anyone's back for little misplaced passes, and we just need to make sure that's the same with Patterson. If he does drop a clanger, we stay behind him, because we have got a good goalkeeper there. He's got a long contract. He's going to be with us for a while. So we just need to make sure that we also keep supporting him as he's developing as well. But yeah, brilliant he was.
I think we're talking an awful lot about having a young team that you can develop, and kind of, I think every team in the country, unless you're in the top sort of four, wants to have, we buy young players cheap and scout them well and then sell them at a profit, and we get like good years out of them, kind of like what we did with Henderson in a way, brought him to the academy, went to academy plays and stuff like that as well. Maybe Henderson's not the best example because he came from the academy, didn't purchase him, but you get where I'm coming from. I'm not editing that, can't be bothered. But I think we do look like a good young team, and I think what is quite nice, and it's really hard to be patient, especially as a Sunderland fan, it is hard. But I feel like people are going to be patient. I can't remember who was mentioning it, but someone on Twitter said that people were being really negative about it. And I mean, Twitter should never be a barometer. But if I'm honest, that's the only real avenue we had, and people were really positive. I didn't see anyone having to go with Daniel about his mistake. I didn't see anyone. I think people said maybe 09 should have been stronger on the goal, and fair enough, but it's still a great strike. I saw very few people being massively negative. Which is not always the case, especially on Twitter with any football club. But I think as a fan base as a whole, we seem to be like, well, we've got decent manager here. We've had a good set of young players for quite a while now. This guy seems to know how to coach them and what to do with them. Yeah, they're going to make mistakes. Be a bit patient with them. But you look at that entire team, there's loads of players under 24 that have got years to grow with us. And let's be honest, like, we are at the minute a team that, in my opinion, would be happy with survival, 15th or 17th. I'd be more than happy with that. But our scope for being more than that is massive compared to the championship clubs. Like, if we finish 15th, 17th, that's fine. But we can sell a project to a player now, like such as, say, Ellis Sims. I know he's only came in on loan, but you can say, well, you can go to Hearts, you can go to Blackpool, you can go to wherever you want, really. You can go back to where you've been. But here you can shine in front of 40,000 fans that will back you, like, viciously almost. You can live and breathe football in the Northeast at a club that is probably still at the level that it shouldn't be at. We're a Premier League setup, but you can help get this club stabilised, and then we can look at where we go next. Because look at all these good young players that are going to continue to grow. You can be part of that. And it's not a dream. Like, we all just want to be like the best and richest club in the world, as long as we're not owned by Saudi Arabians, actually owned by people with morals. That would be great. But we all want to be the biggest, best club that's winning everything. And I'll say on a serious note, but that doesn't really work unless you're top four these days, to be completely honest. So the dream is have a good young team that you can think, I've got years to grow with that. And that, I'm starting to feel that with something like, and there's always the devil on your shoulder with something that's going to go to shit at some point, and undoubtedly there'll be a week when I feel like it has done. But Patterson, Dan Neil, players you've mentioned there, and they're anchored by good experienced players with good lads with good heads on their shoulders. I think we forget how young Ross Stewart really is. He's only coming up 25, I think, this year. Pritchard's 28, but he's got bags of experience. Danny Bart, Bailey Wright, that bit of experience that they give towards these kids that like 20, 21, 22, and they're just getting better. Like, Embleton's going to get better. Daniel's only going to get better. Patterson's only going to get better. The worst case scenario is they stay the same level that they're at, which is a pretty decent level from what I've seen. Hopefully I come back this at the end of the season and agree with myself, but I'm feeling really positive. I think I always like to put a negative in, or a talking point that could be construed as a negative. And it was quite hard to pick them, to be completely honest. I think one for me was the players that left that were missing out, I don't know whether I'd call it a negative or not, but I think it's no secret I'm a massive Carl Winchester fan. Don't know why, I just like him as a player, as a person. Diaky and Diamond left out. Someone said that I was being quite reactive by saying I think that means Alex Neil wants them out. That wasn't me being overreactive in my own opinion. It was just a case of he said he wants more numbers and those three players are missing out. That would be a question mark to me if I'm a player. If I'm honest, Diaky, I'm not his biggest detractor from it, but I'd be all right with him going. Diamond, I wouldn't have too many problems with him going. I don't think he's going to reach the level of the young players we mentioned before. Winchester, I think, has got loads to offer, but I don't. Am I being too reactive here, Brad, or is that writing on the wall for those players? Do you think?
No, I think we've seen last season Alex Neil wasn't afraid to leave people out, then bring them back in when they were needed.
That's true.
He did also touch on, I think he was on BBC Newcastle and he was asked about signings. And he did say, his presser, he said, we lost 7 players, we brought in 3. So we need to get the balance right. So I can't see them players, maybe it's Diamond, possibly Diaku, but Winchester, no, because he knows he's got a versatile player in there. He had to pick an 18 that would suit that first game of the season. It's unfortunate Winchester didn't make it, but we'll come up against another team who's probably a little bit quicker, and maybe he's not as big and strong, and that's where Winchester could slot in there, come back into the squad, into the team, or at least the squad. It was surprising that he left out, to be honest, because until he got his injury towards the back end of last season, Alex Neil, I think, preferred him as his first choice right back. So I wouldn't look too far in, to be honest, because I do think he rates Winchester, but I wouldn't think any of them will be allowed to go until we get 4 at least in. Another 3, maybe it's 4. We've got a cup game coming up. We've seen a lot of them pre-season, but there's a cup game coming up in a week's time while the window's still open. It's nothing to say they won't get a chance then to prove themselves in competitive football. So I wouldn't really look too much into it after one game, mate, if I'm honest. So yeah.
I would like to think we'd keep hold of Winchester. The other negative, which is not really a negative to be honest, but obviously it wasn't one of Luke O'Nine's best performances when he came on, and that's just, I think, I'm sure he'll be as honest as I've been just there. I think the one real positive I feel for Luke O'Nine, and people can disagree with this if they like, I think since the day he got here, any mistake he's made, you can tell he's worked hard to try his very best to fix it. I think come the end of the season, O'Nine will be a very useful squad player. Wasn't a great performance, but I think we've got to trust Luke O'Nine that surely he's going to use that as a learning curve and become vital come the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that as well. Luke's probably his biggest critic. Whenever you see an interview or even on the Netflix show, when he said after his first couple of games he wasn't at it and people told him what he needed to work on. There was times he was telling his dad training was all right, but he lost the ball so many times. But he's corrected that himself. He's got his head down, and that's another learning experience. Again, it's his first game in the championship. So he's still young. He's not one of these old ones either, but he's an experienced head and he's been with the club. And while we're touching on people who are making mistakes, but they're not being dug out about it, I was just thinking about it there. The big difference now is we know this group of players, by and large, maybe it's 1 or 2 that's come in. These were the lads that have got us out of League One, whereas previous seasons it was relegation from the Premier League into the Championship. That was absolute disaster. Then it was into League One, and every season we were gearing back up, and it was a lot of the same squad that failed to get us back out of that league, and then got so close and failed again. I think a lot fans are going to be more patient with every single player. Now we know that this is by and large the squad that got us out of that league. So if he makes another mistake in a couple of weeks' time, that's fine. But in that time, he might score. He might have an assist. He put a great crunching tackle in, which in the Stadium of Light's just as good as a goal or assist, isn't it? He might smash one of the Borough players, something like that. We're willing to give them. We know, bar 5 or 6 in that squad. None of them have got championship experience. It's going to take some time to adjust to it. Us as fans have had 1 season in there in 16 years. We're going to have to get used to it as well. So are the players. It's a completely different ballgame from what we've been used to. So, yeah, it wasn't Luke's best game. He knows that, and he'll put that right.
I think That's yeah, me too. I think that's one of the big things with it. I think there is going to be a lot of patience with the players we've got as well. I think it is a cliche that you just want players that fight for the shirt, but I think without going in depth on what that actually means to a Sunderland fan, because everyone will have their own thought process on what that means. I do think that by and large, the likes of Luke O'Nien in the squad, you can trust he's going to be someone who's going to put his head down and try and change and fix his mistakes that is there. And he's going to have to learn to, grow in this league as well, the same way that we are. I think the biggest thing about it is I think we're all very acutely aware of that fact that we need to learn and grow and get used to this league and not get too down when things go bad. Say we get beat at Bristol City next week and we end up in the bottom four. Don't get too down about it. It's 2 games in. Bristol City's not they're an experienced championship side. We could come back and beat QPR a week later, or could go the other way around. I think we're really acutely aware of that. And we were acutely aware of that going into the Coventry game. And yet, first half especially, as much as I said I thought 1 was a fair result, I thought we looked bloody good first half. The movement, underpinned by Pritchard, Gucci, I thought was terrific. I thought Gucci was excellent. We've already touched on Patterson. Yeah, Daniel made that mistake, but he looked so comfy and casual, and too casual at one point. But he did look very sort of slick and like he was confident. Yeah. Embo had a good game, and you're not taught. I know we had 40,000 fans in. I know we were up for it, and I know we created a good atmosphere. But like we can tell when we're not playing well. We can tell when the players aren't responding to it, and we responded to them, and they responded to us, and you could hear it. And yes, Coventry came back into it, but Coventry are a good side. I think they finished 12th last season. I think by and large they were in the top 8 for the majority of the season, and we're disappointed to miss out there. We've touched on the strengths that they have as well. However, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'm 100% comfortable with the squad and the way it is. I think you said it before, we'll probably look a little bit short on numbers. I think a lot of people spoke about getting full-backs in. I think we need at least backup for certain. For me, the glaring position that's missing is central midfield. I'm not going to criticise Corey Evans because I know it's going to come, but I'd like someone that's going to at least complement him, or I'd like someone that's going to help him out when he might get inevitably injured, because we all know his injury record's not been great.
Speaking of Corey, I might as well jump on it straight away. First half, he went to pass the ball straight across just inside our half. I don't know what he was trying to do. Give it one there, lads. Almost cost us. My Corey head rage came on first half. I was out my seat screaming at him. So he's back in my bad books at the time. But I'm not going to start calling him names again, because I looked like an idiot last time, didn't I?
We all do.
Yeah, that was one. I was sort of like, oh Christ, he's done it again. And to be fair, he did track back and try to close him down. He didn't let his head go down. And he was getting around quite well. Some people were thinking, could he keep up with the pace of it? But yeah, he was probably a 6, 7. 6, I would say. I'd done nothing wrong. But yeah, I'll just have to mention that one negative point. And just touching on where you're saying about if we go and get beat next week and blah, blah, blah. What you have to remember is we stormed this league after losing the first 5 games. When we got relegated, we actually looked okay for the first month. Went and battered Norwich 3-0 and drew with Derby at home. So everyone says judge after 10 games, don't judge after 2 or 3. And I would like to hope that the fans know that as well. If it takes 3, 4, 5 games to find our feet and we only pick up 1 win, a draw and a couple of defeats, so be it. I have a lot of trust that Alex Neil will get it right. If not the players, Alex Neil will get it right for us. And we've got 7 games, I think it is, until the window closes, 1 or 2 being cup games. So we'll judge after that. Window closes, another 5 games. Yes, if we go on some horrible losing streak, yeah, start to panic, because I will. And when this pod goes out and then we go and get beat the next 3 and I'm absolutely raging, just tweet me and just tell me to calm down and remind me about my own words. I'm just in a good mood because I'm on holiday.
The benefit of reaction pod, we've slightly got more benefit because we're like more than 24 hours later. But I think by and large, like, you know what, I do agree. I think we'll be okay, and I'm judging that just on 1 game solely. I could be completely wrong with it, but I thought we looked okay. I said I thought we'd be okay beforehand, but I do think we need bodies in. I think we need something at left back. definitely. I think Certain will be all right. I've not always been his biggest fan. He's grown on me. I think he'll be all right, but we need to be able to help him because Huggins has been out for the best part of a year. We don't know if he's going to be, if he was fit, and fair enough. And I suppose you can move Onai in there, but Onai's unexperienced in the centre midfield. He's going to be inexperienced at left back or right back as well, despite the fact he looked all right there in League One quite a few times. But I think we're desperate for something in the middle. I would love Kamara from Plymouth. I really would be asking the question on that. I think someone made a few suggestions today. One of them was Tom Rogic used to be at Celtic. If we got him, absolutely no problem. But I think he might set his sights maybe slightly higher. Maybe that's me being a bit unambitious. But Kamara for me from Plymouth would be a great signing. Someone just big, strong, and someone that's going to carry the ball a bit, even if it means maybe giving them Matete on loan in return for a bit. I still think Matete can offer something, but I think we need someone that can start games here and now. Where would you like to see us strengthen?
Yeah, I mean, people, when you listen to pods and like you said, go on Twitter, people generally think we are well stocked in midfield. Now, we are in numbers,
But not in quality for me.
but it is a lack of quality and probably is a lack of that one powerful centre midfielder like you talk about.
Yeah.
Yes, Onai runs around. He's not scared of putting it. He'll break his leg before he'll try and let anyone past him, except for the other day when he did let someone past him. But yeah, we need that one big centre midfielder that's willing just to take the game out of scruff and neck. I mean, it wasn't built by stature, but someone like a Lee Cattermole. But someone probably is a better footballer than Cattermole. Maybe he's a prime Leadbitter would be the way I would think about it. But I haven't got any names to mind, mate. I mean, Kamara's not a bad shout. If we can see it, they'll be able to see it as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see one come in. And like you touched on with Sirkin, if he gets injured, I think his only other option is to go to a back three, and that means you're rejigging the full pack. So I'm more than confident that they'll have that one eye on the left back as well. Because like you say, he is comfortable playing a three, but he likes his 4-2-3-1, isn't he? But if he gets injured, yes, he's going to have to revert to a back three, and that's using all your centre halves. So then if one of them gets injured, then you're starting to look like, oh shit, where do we go from here?
I think for
and I
me,
still do think for the striker.
I think there's a bit of a broadhead-shaped hole in the squad as well, actually. Yeah, I agree. I think he's been quite obviously wants a striker, so I'm hoping that's kind of what's on his mind. I do feel I like being able to be fluid in formation. I don't want to be fluid because we're forced into it unless we're having an injury crisis, and one injury wouldn't be an injury crisis. So yeah, I do think you need to back up. I don't want to be shoehorning people in there that are inexperienced in that position in the first place, like Luke with 9, for example. But I think, just to kind of close off here, all in all, that was a really positive set of things. We're talking here about what we can build on as opposed to what we need to replace, I think, and that's hugely positive. And obviously, just being me and you, Brad, hopefully the viewers have continued this bloody long. Because I've got to be honest, I've been on like 2 10-hour megabuses and I'm absolutely fucked. Because I really enjoyed England winning yesterday. Don't know whether you noticed on Twitter, but I quite enjoyed myself. But I think going into Bristol City, I'm confident that we're going to be fine at this level and we can compete. I think extra numbers on top of that's only going to make us better. Confident going into the game against Bristol City.
I am, yeah. I think we'll see a few changes. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Roberts come in.
Yeah.
And even takes maybe he's Dan Neil out, or he sacrifices the Evans type player and we play with two, like a Neil and Embleton in there, because Embleton played well when he dropped deep. It's all depending on what team he puts out there. But I've got every faith in the 14 or 15 that's available that we can go and give a count of ourselves. Again, I'd take a point. Or even saying it this way, I'd take a positive performance, even if the result doesn't match at this moment of the time, because we've got plenty of time to correct that. I just hope we don't go there, and if we that's the big one. We haven't conceded early yet. Mm-hmm. It's how we react to that late goal, and then we're going to have to see a different type of character in the team in this level. If we concede early, how do we bounce back? It's going to be a learning curve for us as fans and as players, the management team. So for me, I'm confident going there. I'd take a point now. I think we can beat them. I think we can beat them comfortably with the players we've got. But for me, at this stage, like I've said, and it sounds a bit soppy really, It's the performances I want to see at the minute. Back in League One, it was always, oh, fuck the performances. We need the results. We need to get out this league. This early in the season, for me, it's make sure the performance is right and the results will come.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will as well, absolutely. But not been a short and sweet one as I thought. With it just been us two, it's been actually a fairly long one. Don't know what that means for the future.
And all
David
the
Ross.
all watching for me.
We actually did delay it because I was coming back from Wembley and watching Love Island. But if you don't like that, in the words of Jill Scott, fuck off, you fucking prick. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
You are a liar.